There is a story that came out of the Rajasthan desert a few years ago that absolutely fascinated the medical community, even if they didn't want to admit it at first. It was about a local farmer named Vermaram Jat, who, at the ripe old age of 88, managed to father a child. Now, when people asked him what his secret was, how a man pushing 90 had the reproductive vitality of a man in his 20s, he didn't talk about expensive treatments or little blue pills. He pointed to his daily diet, specifically the rich, frothy milk of the camels he herded and the sweet, dense dates he ate while walking the sands. For centuries, Bedouin tribes have whispered about this desert secret, claiming that the harsh environment forced nature to create food sources so potent that they could practically reverse aging in the reproductive system. But for the longest time, we just brushed this off as folklore. Well, we were wrong. New research is shedding light on the molecular biology of camel milk and dates. And what we are finding is that this combination might be one of the most powerful natural protocols for reviving penile tissue, restoring erectile integrity, and optimizing your hormonal health. If you enjoy deep dives into the science of your own body and you want to separate the myths from the medical reality, do me a quick favor and hit that like button. And if you're new here, stick around and subscribe because we are building a community of men who want real answers, not just hype. Now, before we really get into the biochemistry of this Bedouin protocol, I need to give you a genuine doctor. Forge patient disclaimer. So, everything I'm about to share with you is grounded in published scientific research, ranging from urology journals to endocrinology studies, and I have listed those trusted medical sources in the description below so you can verify this yourself. However, I am a doctor on the internet, not your personal doctor. So always chat with your healthcare provider before making big changes to your diet, especially if you're managing conditions like diabetes or high blood pressure. So, to understand why camel milk and dates can revive your sex life, we have to first understand what kills it. And it's usually not what you think. Most men think their penis shrinks or gets weak just because they are getting older, but physiologically, what is actually happening is a loss of vascular integrity. Think of your penis like a high performance hydraulic machine. It relies entirely on blood pressure to function. To get an erection, your body releases a gas called nitric oxide, which tells the blood vessels to relax and open up wide. When they open, blood rushes in, and this is the crucial part, that blood gets trapped there, creating rigidity. But in the modern world, due to stress, processed sugar, and toxins, our blood vessels get rusty. We call this oxidative stress. And this biological rust destroys nitric oxide before it can work, meaning your vessels never fully open, your erections become lackluster, and over time, the tissue actually begins to atrophy or shrink because it's starved of oxygen. This is where the camel comes into the picture, and it's honestly fascinating how biology adapts to environment. The camel survives in one of the most hostile places on Earth and during extreme heat and dehydration. To survive, its milk has evolved to be radically different from cow's milk. It's not just food, it's a survival serum. Research has shown that camel milk is absolutely packed with vitamin C, 3 to 5 times more than cow's milk, and it's loaded with zinc. Now, zinc is often called the manhood mineral because it is essential for testosterone production and prostate health, but the vitamin C here acts as a potent antioxidant. Remember that rust I mentioned? The antioxidants in camel milk act like a rust remover. They scrub the endothelial lining of your blood vessels, reducing the oxidative stress and allowing your body's natural nitric oxide to survive longer. But the real magic of camel milk, and the reason it is being studied so heavily right now for men's health, is its unique relationship with insulin. You see, high blood sugar is the number one enemy of erections. Sugar acts like shards of glass in your blood vessels, scarring them and destroying the nerves that trigger arousal. This is why diabetic men often suffer from erectile dysfunction years before they get diagnosed with diabetes. Camel milk contains an insulin-like protein that is encapsulated in tiny nanoparticles, and unlike the insulin in other foods which gets destroyed by your stomach acid, These particles in camel milk survive digestion and get into your bloodstream, helping to regulate your blood sugar naturally by stabilizing your glucose. You are essentially stopping the damage to your penile nerves and blood vessels, giving them a chance to heal and regenerate. So, if camel milk is the shield that protects and repairs your hardware, the date fruit is the high octane fuel that powers the engine. The date palm, specifically the Phoenix dactylifera, has been revered in the Middle East for millennia, and modern analysis tells us exactly why. Dates are incredibly rich in amino acids, specifically arginine and citrulline. If you've ever looked at bodybuilding supplements or pre-workout drinks, you've probably seen L-arginine listed. That's because your body uses arginine to manufacture that nitric oxide gas we talked about earlier. Without arginine, there is no nitric oxide. Without nitric oxide, there is no erection. It is that simple. But here is where nature is smarter than a chemistry lab. So when you take a synthetic arginine pill, your liver often breaks it down before it can reach your lower regions. However, dates also contain citrulline. Citrulline is a precursor that bypasses the liver and goes straight to the kidneys, where it is converted into arginine directly in the bloodstream. This creates a sustained release of nitric oxide precursors. So when you eat dates, you aren't just getting a sugar rush. You are loading your system with the raw materials needed to maximize blood flow. This leads to what we call maximal engorgement. Many men walk around with erections that are maybe 80% or 90% full because of that vascular tension I mentioned. And by flooding the system with these natural vasodilators, you allow the chambers of the penis to fill to their absolute anatomical limit. Now, let's address the elephant in the room, or perhaps I should say the camel in the room. I know the title of this discussion mentioned increasing penis size, and I need to be 100% transparent with you because I value your trust. Once you are an adult male, your anatomical structures, the tunica albuginea, which is the casing of the penis, do not grow through cell division. No food will magically add 3 inches of new tissue. However, there is a massive difference between anatomical size and functional size. If your blood vessels are constricted, if you have low-grade inflammation, or if your nitric oxide levels are low, you are never seeing your full potential. You are essentially driving a car with the handbrake on. The Bedouin protocol helps release that handbrake. By optimizing blood flow and tissue elasticity, you can achieve a fuller, heavier, and more substantial erection than you perhaps have in years. That isn't growing new tissue, it's revealing what you actually have. There is another layer to this, specifically regarding libido and drive, and this involves the pollen of the date palm. While the fruit gives you vascular fuel, the date palm pollen, or DPP, acts almost like a hormonal signal. Studies on this pollen have shown it contains steroidal saponins and flavonoids that interact with your anterior pituitary gland. This is the control center in your brain that sends signals to your testicles to produce testosterone. In animal studies and even some limited human trials with infertile men, consuming date palm pollen has been linked to improvements in sperm count, motility, and testosterone levels. It seems to wake up the Leydig cells in the testes, which are the factories for male hormones. So when you combine these elements, you get a synergistic effect. The camel milk stabilizes your metabolism and lowers the oxidative stress that kills your erections, and the dates provide the arginine and citrulline to physically expand the blood vessels, and the pollen provides the hormonal kickstart to boost your drive. It's a full spectrum approach: vascular, metabolic, and hormonal. And this is likely why those Bedouin tribesmen maintained such legendary stamina. They weren't relying on a single magic bullet. Their entire lifestyle and diet supported every pillar of male reproductive health simultaneously. Now, you might be wondering, okay, doc, this sounds great, but how do I actually do this? I don't live in the Sahara. The good news is that the world is smaller now and you can access these things, but you have to be careful with sourcing. Let's talk about a practical protocol you can try. It starts in the morning. I recommend about 250 milliliters, which is just a standard glass of camel milk. Ideally, you want this on an empty stomach to let those insulin-like proteins pass through quickly. You must ensure it is pasteurized. I cannot stress this enough. Raw milk carries risks of bacterial infections that you do not want. Flash pasteurized camel milk retains most of the nutritional benefits without the risk of things like MERS or brucellosis. Then, for your midday snack, instead of reaching for a processed energy bar or a bag of chips, grab 3 to 5 dates. Medjool dates are great, but if you can find AJWA dates, those are the ones specifically cited in many traditional texts and studies for their high antioxidant content. Chew them slowly. You are getting a natural energy boost from the fructose, but because of the fiber, it's a slow burn, not a crash. And if you are really serious about the hormonal aspect, you can look for date palm pollen supplements. Usually these come in capsules or powder. If you get the powder, you can actually mix a small teaspoon of it into your camel milk or mix it with a little honey. I have to be real with you though, this isn't an overnight miracle. Biology takes time to adapt. You can't drink 1 glass of milk and eat 2 dates and expect to wake up a new man tomorrow. We are talking about repairing endothelial lining and reducing systemic inflammation. This is a lifestyle protocol. You need to give it a few weeks, maybe a month, to really start feeling the difference in your energy levels, your morning wood, and your overall stamina. And of course, this works best if you aren't actively sabotaging yourself. If you are smoking, drinking heavily, or eating junk food all day, you are throwing dirt on the fire faster than the camel. Milk can clean it up. I also want to address a safety note specifically about the pollen. Date palm pollen is, well, pollen. If you have seasonal allergies, hay fever, or asthma, you need to be very careful. It can trigger allergic reactions in sensitive people. Start with a tiny, tiny amount to see how your body reacts. And for the dates, while they are low glycemic index, they are still calorie dense. If you are diabetic or watching your weight, don't eat the whole box. 3 to 5 is the sweet spot, pun intended, to get the therapeutic benefits without spiking your daily calorie load. There is something incredibly empowering about realizing that the solutions to our most intimate health problems might not always come from a laboratory, but from understanding how our bodies were designed to interact with nature. The desert is a harsh teacher, but it produces resilient life by borrowing these secrets, the resilience of the camel, the energy of the palm. We are essentially borrowing that survival strength for ourselves. It's about giving your body the right tools to repair the damage of modern life. You deserve to feel vital. You deserve to feel confident, and you deserve a body that functions at its peak, no matter your age. So give it a try. Swap out that second coffee for some camel milk, trade the candy bar for some dates, and see how your body responds. If you found this information helpful, please share this video with a friend who might need to hear it. Men's health is something we need to talk about more openly. I've put the list of all the medical institutions and studies I referenced right after this, so you can do your own reading. Take care of yourselves, stay healthy, and I'll see you in the next video.